I need to walk with me on this journey. Yes, hold me accountable, 'cause sometimes I need to know the truth. Sister, I love you. We're one in the same, 'cause we're sharing the pain of the world as we know it to be. Sister, I need you to walk with me on this journey. Yes, hold me accountable, 'cause sometimes I need to know the truth. Sister, I love you.
Hello. Welcome to the Woman to Woman show, where we believe truth plus transparency equals healing. Welcome tonight, my beauty flies who are on the set: Monetta Fields, Shayla Williams, and Regina Booker. Welcome. And tonight we have a special guest. We have a therapist in the building. Is there a doctor in the house? Yes, it is. We have Dr. Latoya Gaines in the house. And tonight we will be talking all about the Superwoman Syndrome, what it looks like, how to overcome it, how it leads to depression, and what you can do to get the help that you need. We will have tips and tools and resources for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because it's not the Superwoman Syndrome, but you could be suffering from the Superman Syndrome, and we don't want to leave you out. Dr. Latoya works with families, so you are more than welcome to reach out to her. We'll be having her information a little bit later on in the show. So we love to start the show. Everybody can unmute their mics, and we love to start the show with a moment of gratitude to give people a chance to come in so that they don't miss the beginning, so they get everything from Dr. Latoya that they can get. So we'll go around the room and we'll start with Netta, and let's just talk about a moment of gratitude.
So mine is very light tonight. I am grateful that the recipe I chose to make black bean burgers turned out well. Everybody enjoyed it, so that's a win for me.
Yes, it's the little things. Come on, Shayla, what are you thankful for?
Wow, hello and good evening, everyone. What am I grateful for today? Wow, getting things accomplished today. Getting things accomplished, and a couple of new customers too.
Woo!
So it's a good thing, yes.
Money. So our beauty flies just stepped in the building. Theodora, welcome, Theo. What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful that two people that I know that had to go into the hospital last night are doing well today. So I'm grateful for that.
Come on, Regina.
Hello. I am grateful that I got up and I did at least 10 minutes of exercise today. Back on the ground.
Dr. Latoya, what are you grateful for today?
You know, I'm sitting here feeling really grateful to be here and amongst this group of women, and just to be able to talk about this phenomenon and help people.
And I'm gonna say that I am grateful for each and every one of you ladies that showed up tonight to serve. I'm thankful for you, Dr. Latoya, that God connected us, because I don't think anything is by happenstance. And Netta will smile because I don't believe anything is by happenstance, truly, from my strength test. So we're going to get right into this, Dr. Latoya. So, Dr. Latoya, I just want to bring you right in right now, and I just want you to tell everyone what the Superwoman Syndrome actually is.
All right, so let's get right into it. Oftentimes what happens with us as Black women, we take on everything. We take on the responsibility of work, our families, the children, caretaking of elders within our families. And what winds up happening is we get further and further pushed back. Our needs, our desires, our wants get pushed further and further on the back burner because we're too busy caring for other people. We're too busy saying yes to everything, not saying no enough, and just trying to show up strong. You know, we want to be that strong person. I don't know if you have noticed this recently, but you know, is now we're talking about it, but it used to be a time that we described ourselves as a strong Black woman, and it was sort of a badge of honor. And now we're realizing how harmful that really is, because nobody runs to help the person who they see as strong, right? And so it's really causing damage to us, not just mentally and emotionally, but also physically.
Oh, see, we got to know that nobody is getting a badge of honor for doing the most. And Dr. Latoya said something very important. When you know you have the Superwoman Syndrome is when a woman is neglecting herself, right?
Yeah.
Because she is seeking to do it all to perfection and stretching for everybody else. So key there, when a woman is neglecting herself, right? You are stuck in the Superwoman Syndrome. So we always like to go around the room and talk about if we've ever experienced this. So ladies, unmute if you feel like you've experienced the Superwoman Syndrome. Are you going through the Superwoman Syndrome? Do you think you're Superwoman? Do you wear a cape every day? So jump on in, ladies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say it's funny because I just had this conversation with my niece last week. Like, we literally just had this conversation, and we were talking about the fact that we use that term, I'm a strong woman, is something that, that needed to be changed, that it actually does more damage than good. Right. So it's just confirmation to hear Dr. Latoya talk about it. But I know there probably have been periods where I was in that Superwoman Syndrome. I'm thankful that I've kind of, graduated from that, if that's the word I would use, but or manage it better, right? Like I actually learned that it was okay to say no. And it was actually okay to not try to make it to every function and not try to be there for everybody, and that people would actually understand, right? So I definitely would say that there was a time when, I was trying to be everything to everybody.
I love it. Netta?
Yes, I was just thinking about, I used to work nights. My husband and I staggered our schedules so that our children wouldn't have to go to daycare. So I worked nights, would drive to the hospital because we both worked at the same hospital. He would take the kids back home. And then, it was time for me to get off. He would bring them with him and I would drive them back home, and would be up 24 hours sometimes trying to get everything done, just driving myself in the ground, but just not stopping to think, this is not healthy. And being in healthcare, you would think that would come to mind, right? No, just on the grind, making it happen. But there came a time when my body let me know, you're doing too much. And I'm hopeful that as we share tonight, there's someone that realizes your body is giving you warning signals. We have to choose to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yep. I ended up in the hospital. Like, I just really was in my house with my children, and all of a sudden I heard my middle son saying to my oldest son, help mommy up off the floor. Help. I have passed out. And I was just like, I'm looking up like, help me off the floor. Am I on the floor? And then I got up and I walked a few feet and I passed out again. So my oldest son had to drive me to the hospital. He took me to the hospital. The doctor said, you're dehydrated. And it was all because I was doing way too much. I was trying to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the mother. I was running this. I was trying to start businesses. And like Netta said, my body had told me a few days before because I felt woozy. But I said, oh, I drank a little water. You'll be okay. But then my body just said, yep. And I had to stay in the hospital for a couple of days. So God will get you if you don't listen. Shay, did you want to come in?
Yeah, and I was going to talk on the side of being single, in where you think that, okay, well, you don't have a husband and children, whatever, so you have all this time that you should occupy and be doing stuff. And at one point, I remember when I just joined my church and I was involved in all these different ministries, and I remember on any given Sunday, I was on the praise team, on the choir, and the dance ministry, and I was changing in between each time that we had to minister that I had to minister on any given Sunday, that all three ministries were, participating, that I was changing my clothes to minister in whatever, so for the choir, whatever I was wearing, then for the dance ministry, had to go change and then come back down, and was doing all this stuff. And realized after a while that, it became a lot. And realizing that not just because I'm single means that I have to occupy my time to the second with stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, I had to step back and just and again, being in the choir, I was the administrative assistant, and we would have events, so like our anniversary. So I learned to look at the other choir members and see who did what and how they did it. And before we started the program, we were talking about, you wanting to do things because you felt the way you do it is the right way or the only way to get things done. When I realized, look, as long as you get it done, whatever your process is, just get it done. As long as you get the same result, just get it done. So I learned how to delegate, and would start doing that. So I would start to recognize and look at people and see, okay, what gift you have, what talent you have, and see how it works together with whatever we needed to accomplish as a group. So I learned to delegate and relieve myself from thinking that I had to do everything.
Mhm.
Wow. We're gonna go to Regina, and then I'm gonna go to Dr. Latoya with a serious question in 1 second. But Regina, come on in.
Yes, I remember a time about 3 years ago, my dad passed, and I'm the only girl, and I'm the oldest girl. Well, the only girl and the oldest child. So when my dad passed, it's like everything fell on me, and I had to do the funeral. I had to take care of the house. Um, my brothers, they were fighting amongst each other, and they didn't talk to each other, and they only called me. So I was putting out fires everywhere and just running me ragged. And anytime anything happened with that whole process, it was on me, and I was trying to handle it from another state. And two of my brothers lived in the same state, and they wouldn't walk, wouldn't step up, wouldn't do anything. My mom said to me one day, you're gonna have a heart attack and die. You let your brothers alone, let that house alone, take care of yourself. And she literally, I did this for a year, and then tried to work and then take care of my kids and my grandson. And I was all over the place. Almost went into
Wow.
a grave. Really stressed out. So that was a time that really taking care of family.
Wow. So I see
Yeah.
in the comments, Dr. Latoya, Takesha says, sometimes I feel like I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. I just want you to address that really quickly, please.
Yeah, some of it is, I think, I can't remember who said it, but it's giving yourself permission to delegate. It's giving yourself permission to say no to some things. It's not feeling guilty when you say no. It's not feeling guilty when you choose to take care of yourself. Part of the way this syndrome begins is we do this as children grow up, right? As I don't know about you ladies, but I know as an older sibling, I often was given the responsibility of caretaking and looking after my younger siblings. And so it starts there. And then as you get older, you don't know how to not be the responsible one. You don't know how to not be the one that everybody calls on. I think it was Regina talking about, her father passed, and instead of coming together and working together as a family to help one another, it was sort of this, well, she's got it, she'll take care of it. And so we have to give ourselves permission to delegate, permission. Oh, the other thing, asking for help. We will not ask for help. Boy, oh boy, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we don't mind. Part of the reason we get stuck in this is we're so busy saying yes to other people, right? People ask us, oh, can you help me with this? Can you pick this up? Can you do this? And we say yes without hesitation. But if we need something, we will not ask anybody else, right?
Ladies, I wanted to just say, I said this a couple of weeks back when we saw, the suicide rate is so high. Like, we're seeing this and it's on TV and we're overwhelmed with it. So I have to get on social media sometimes because I see on social media, pray for my aunt. She in the hospital. This person got this. My father passed away. My uncle. I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is so depressing. But I know that I said, and I encourage everyone that's listening to offer help to women, right? Because sometimes we're not going to ask. So as each individual, as we're sitting here, the 6 of us, if we offer to a sister, right? Like, Netta, you need some help, or somebody in our circle, we could probably combat some of this problem because we have been programmed, like Dr. Latoya said, and someone in the comments says, so true, I'm the oldest girl. My goodness, the responsibility and burden of it all. Like, so we've been programmed. I had a younger brother and my mom had drug and alcohol problems. So not only was I taking care of my brother, but I was the mother when my mother was drunk and my mother was the mother when she was sober. So I got used to a system of kind of sort of adjusting to being a little super girl. I wasn't even a woman. I was a super girl. So let's talk about some, and the ladies, you can chime in too, ladies, if you've had, an experience or someone around you that you may want Dr. Latoya to address, right? Because I know Netta is, and I hope you don't mind me sharing about your mom's story, and maybe Dr. Latoya can give us some tips too. Because I was a caregiver for my mother, and caregivers are the most super women that I ever met in my whole entire life. I took care of my mother through breast cancer, and I was super duper superwoman, and because I didn't want nobody helping me with my mama. Really, I thought I didn't. But Netta's going through that right now with her mom, where she is doing an amazing job. I think she should be a doctor, but that's a whole nother show. So for the caregivers, Dr. Latoya and Theo's in Harmony, she teaches Harmony. She's a Harmony coach, and Theo also in HR. So it kind of ties in because you're dealing with people all the time. What can we do, the super woman? Because some of us are just super women, and then some of us are just, I ain't even gonna say crazy because the doctor will be.
But it's all the same, Trey. It's all the same, right? It's all the same. It's just maybe slightly different levels, right? So like you, I took care of my mom during breast cancer as well. My mother had breast cancer twice, and she had a stroke. So I think that was one of the first times that I realized, like, ooh, I'm doing this. I am doing this. And so I want to go back to something you said too, Trey, that, asking your friend, what can I do? What, instead of asking, just do it. Fill the gap, right? Just do it. If you know that, she's usually coming home from work and preparing dinner, can you have delivery made to her home? Can you prepare an extra dish? Can you, what can you just do? Because a lot of times we will hide that we have a need. We will, make like it's not a big deal. No, girl, don't bother. I know you tired too. Don't worry about it. I got it. Right. But we need to be able to say, no, I'm doing this for you because I see the need. So as far as caregiving goes, I was able to share space with my good girlfriends. And I had a goal of working to let people help me, right? Not just asking for help, but accepting it when it was offered, and not feeling guilty about it, because I know how I show up in those relationships. And I had to tell myself, I'm getting back what I give to other people in relationships. I'm getting back what I give to my good girlfriends in their time of need. And so I had to practice that.
I want to go to Theo because Theo, I want you to just chime in a little bit, Theo, because when I met Theo, the thing that made me gravitate towards was Theo was a giver. Theo just made sure I was okay. Theo didn't even know me. Theo was making. I felt like Theo was my sister from the first.
I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, but I would say I was a caregiver, to my dad, right? And so I remember the first time he was really sick, I worked in Trenton, I lived in Central Jersey. He was in the hospital all the way down like on 16th Street in Manhattan.
Wow.
And I would go to work in the morning. I would leave. I would go to New Brunswick, park my car, get on the train, go. And I remember one day riding home on the train from the hospital and sitting there in tears to the point where the conductor came over and was like, "Are you okay?" And to a stranger, I was like, "My dad is saying this." Right? And from that point on, I did have to learn how to say, I need help. And so like the next time he was sick and he was in Queens, right? And he went into for a month in the hospital, then went into rehab, you know, and I was once again crossing the bridge. Now I was living in North Jersey, but crossing the bridge to go. And my aunt said, "Listen, I'm here during the week. You come on the weekend." Right. And when it was time for me to go to the hospital and just talk to the doctors, right, and have these interdisciplinary meetings, my girlfriend was like, "Yo, what day are you going? I'm going with you." Right. And so it really got to a point where I had to learn how to accept help, but I also had to learn how to say, "Listen, I'm done. Like I am, like, I don't even know if it was what you would call it a nervous breakdown, but I think you do have to get to the point where you say, I've had enough." But I also have had to get to the point where I have to realize I can't be everything to everybody, because that's me. I'm a giver. I'm a nurturer. Like, I just like being there for people, supporting my friends, being there for them, right? But then I had to realize that I can't really be a help to somebody else if I'm not good myself mentally.
Taylor, did you want to jump in?
Okay. Yeah, it's I've watched, I can't say that I've been in that deep of a needing to be there for for people, or maybe I'm underestimating it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm sort of the same way, wanting to be there for people to support and, you know, do whatever I can. And again, I always was leaning on that fact that I am single and I didn't have any other, you know, real responsibilities. A lot of my friends, most of my friends were married or, you know, have kids or both, and things like that. So I always excused it by saying, well, I'm single. I can, you know, I can give my time. I can do, but not realizing that I was probably doing too much. So
The single Superwoman Syndrome, because you have nothing else to do, that everybody else's priorities are yours. Oh my goodness.
right. I did that for many years. And then I think when we were talking about boundaries, the episode about boundaries, that's where I started to realize, okay, you know, I can't be there, or I shouldn't have to be there for everybody, for everything. I had one instance where a friend, her mom was in the hospital, and I was just coming from a rehearsal, and I was really tired, but I wanted to go to the hospital to visit with them. And I went, and my girlfriend, she basically ghosted me because she was leaving, going home. And because she knew how I was, she lived in Long Island, and because she knew how I was, she slipped out without telling me, because she felt that if I knew that she was going home, that I was going to want to drive her all the way to Long Island.
Wow.
So she basically ghosted me.
That's a good friend, though.
Yeah, but you know what? The funny thing was, that particular night, I was so tired. I would say, look, I can't drive you all the way home, but I'll take you to the train station. But she didn't know that, because she was accustomed to me always, you know, being there and doing the most. So, but yeah, she's a great friend.
And Regina, I know Regina is a grandmother, and Dr. Latoya, you can talk to Regina when Regina talks a little bit about her situation. Regina, you're 62, right, Regina?
Yes.
And Regina took her grandson in who has ADHD because he had some things that he was dealing with. So she took her grandson in. And she worked, and her grandson had ADHD. I have him on the spectrum, and I'm 52. I'm about to fall out with this boy. So about why you did that and the other things that you're doing in the communities.
Oh, well, I had to take my grandson because my son got into some trouble, and his mother is not in his life. So I didn't want my grandson to go to the system. But yeah, I raised my kids, and here I am at 62 thinking I got the best of my life going. And I got a 10-year-old. Actually, he was 9. He turned 10 since I've had him. And he does have ADHD, and he's hyper. And I'm accustomed to, I had to calm him down and, get him, have a woman in his life to add some stability, which I have. But every night, every day, it's like, Grandma, what's for dinner? And I'm like, man, if I was by myself, I would eat some cheese and crackers. But I'm just like, now you have to, or he missed the bus, or it's just like, oh my God. And these things that I thought was behind me, now I have in front of me. And now the newest thing was yesterday, I want a kid to come over.
Oh,
You know what? Like, we've been in COVID for 2, you want somebody? And so, so it's just the different things.
yeah,
That,
Dr. What can you lend to that as, even with, of course, she's going to the grandson because he's not going in the system. So what can you lend to us when we are in a situation where we don't have an option or a choice, and this is just thrown into our lap? What do we do?
Yeah, I think you have to be really intentional about creating space for yourself, whether that's creating community by joining a support group for grandparents who are raising grandchildren. Are there other family members who can step in sometimes that give you a break? I think you have to be very intentional about scheduling that downtime. So scheduling, I know we're in COVID now, but how to create opportunities for him to have, play dates. Is there a way to do that safely? I'm not sure where you're located in the world, but is there a way for us to do this safely? How can we, him join in different activities? And I know that also means, you're having to arrange for travel and things like that, but can you band with other parents who are also doing that? So be intentional about taking time for self, giving yourself permission for that, instituting a really good routine as much as possible so that when you can sort of expect, when is he going to be napping, or when will he be going to bed, or when is he at school, or those kinds of things. And but I think it's giving yourself permission to take the breaks and finding community in places you may not have thought of. Is there somebody at church that can assist? So yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Oh my goodness.
And again, it requires us to seek out that help, right? Like, I mean, think about this culturally. That's what we used to do, right? We used to take care of one another. And so, we're talking about getting back to doing that in some way, shape, or form so that the burden doesn't fall on one person, right? It's not a burden if we all share in it.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Latoya. Ladies, do you have any questions? I don't have to dominate the conversation. Of questions or comments, just hop in, so that we can. I told y'all we're gonna get all we can from Dr. Latoya. So what we're gonna do now, we're at the half-hour mark. Let's do our therapy card from Dr. Ebony's therapy cards. And Dr. Latoya knew about these cards when I mentioned them to her. I was like, oh, Dr. Ebony's cards. I said, well, look, sisters. So we're gonna do card, Dr. Latoya. And if you hear anything strange, unusual, or some advice, please do. And I'm giving permission for all of us.
Okay.
So come on, Netta, and read that card. I'm nervous.
All right, let's see what we got tonight. It says, wow. What are you doing to recharge and refuel? And at the bottom, it says, we cannot give to others what we do not have for ourselves. This is so on point.
Did you randomly pick that card, or was that set up?
Nope.
Okay, read that one more time. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into the Woman to Woman show. Tonight we have Dr. Latoya Gaines with us, who is a therapist. And I gotta let Dr. Latoya come in and tell us about her practice and everything, who is a a licensed therapist who is here tonight to serve us and to keep us aware of the Superwoman Syndrome, how to stop living it when you're going into depression. And right now we're doing our therapy card that we do every week. And we want the people in the chat to answer the therapy card in the chat. And we'll read some of your answers and have Dr. Latoya work through some of them with us and you. Okay, go ahead, Netta.
Okay, and just so our viewers know, it's drebony.com, EBONY, drebony.com. So the question is, what are you doing to recharge and refuel?
Ooh, who wants to start? Go ahead, Shayla.
I just did. I went on vacation. I just was tired of this whole COVID thing and all of that. And I just said, Lord, bless me, give me traveling mercies. And I booked a flight.
Yes.
I love being by the ocean. I love warmth, and some good coconut water.
Yes.
And that's what I did.
Who wants to chime in next?
So I'll chime in. I just did this Sunday, and it's going to become a practice every Sunday. Like I, usually will say, oh, Sunday, I'm not doing anything, but end up doing something. And this Sunday, I literally said, I am not turning on my computer. I am not doing anything related to my business, like I literally was like, today is going to be a day to maybe do some minor stuff around the house. But I finished reading a book that I had probably been reading for months. I watched the concert at the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And then watched the rest of the game, right? But it felt so good that I literally said to one of my mentees, one of my little sisters, I call her, I said, every Sunday, I'm going to make this a practice where I am going to do absolutely nothing and make sure that I have time to sit down and read this stack of books that I have piled up that I have to read. And that's going to become my time to refuel and to recharge and just get ready for the week.
Nice. What was the second part of the question, Netta?
Oh, we'll pull it back out.
I'm sorry. What I do, and y'all don't laugh at me because I'm 52. Do not judge me or I will shut this whole thing down. I'm just joking. But I put on Deep Blue stick. It's an essential oil, but I put on Deep Blue and I sit on my heating pad. And I'm sorry, it's a 52-year-old thing. It ain't as exciting as everybody think it is when your knees and your back hurt.
Well, what you do is for you, right?
So I can relate.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Latoya. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying what you do is for you, right? What do you do? What do you need, right? So everybody's need could, will look different, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that grace on my 52-year-old back and that wonderful heating pad. That's my mother's. I bought a heating pad, a new one, and it didn't get hot as my mother's old heating pad. My mom been gone for about, I think, 15 years. So do you know how old that heating pad is? I'm like, I gotta make sure this thing don't catch on fire. It gets so hot and so warm. I love that heating pad. Okay, Netta, I'm sorry, y'all.
That's okay. So what are you doing to recharge and refuel? And at the bottom, it says, we cannot give to others what we do not have for ourselves.
Regina, what are you doing to recharge? I'm sorry, Netta.
I was just going to say, of late, I get to exercise. It's just a way of saying that. Most of us will say, well, let me go ahead because I got to exercise. No, I get to. There are people who wish they could. So that's one of my ways to recharge and refuel. Just going for a nice walk outside. I love to read. But my young adult children are adamant that I recognize one day on the weekend as my Sabbath. Go somewhere and sit down.
I love it. Regina, what do you do to recharge and refuel?
What I love to do is walk. And when I walk in the sun, or even sometimes when it's cold in North Carolina, like Theo about all this cold weather here, but anyway, because it's usually not this cold. But anyway, I love to walk, and just walking, and I play my worship music, And I do. I'm part of this group called Girl Track. I don't know if any of you ever heard of it. It's a national group of just women walking, and it's over 1 million women that walk. And sometimes the co-owners or hosts or whoever that started, they do Black History Boot Camp, and we walk, and they do a podcast. And when that comes on like 3 times a year, I'm so excited because I learn so much about our people. And a lot of them are women, and the shoulders we stand on. So that is my thing, and I just can't wait to just walk. And then I'd be so excited when Black History Boot Camp comes, and it's like 6 weeks, um, like 3 times a year. So I get excited about that.
Theo, do you want to read some of the comments that our viewers are saying that they do?
Sure, but I was actually going to ask Dr. Latoya what she does to recharge and refuel.
So I do a few things. I make sure I connect with my good girlfriends, make sure I get some girlfriend time in, because that for me is very restorative. I exercise. I use exercise. I started using exercise actually as a coping mechanism, and it's my thing now. And I read. I love reading, and so those are my go-to things.
Love it.
Okay. And so comments. So Stacy Rahim said, I have learned to say no. I usually say, I'm not saying no to you. I'm saying yes to me. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Sheila said, I will shut everything down and relax, including taking a nap. I love naps. And Robin Hancock said, therapy card. I go into my quiet place, close the world out, talk to God, the Father. It seriously comes off to others as rude and dismissive, but I have to do it. She said, learn to not commit to anyone or anything. Learning to not commit to anyone or anything is my way of recharging.
I love it. And Dr. Latoya, she said something that struck me as people comes off as people saying is rude or dismissive, but I have to do it. That I have to do it part. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, I think that sort of what I just said to you about what do you need, right? And she's identified that sometimes I have to be able to say no, right? And we have to not make people feel guilty because they need to take care of themselves. I think that that's something that either people expect others will do, that people will, make them feel bad, or that they will feel bad. But boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are good. Boundaries tell people where the line is so that they know not to cross it. And sometimes that line is, I need to say no because I'm taking care of myself. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said it tonight about, sometimes you have to say, no, I can't go. And not because, and not offer an explanation, but I just don't want to. I don't feel like it. No is, I tell my friends, and I say it all the time, no is a complete sentence. Sometimes when I'm working with Black women and I realize that they are dealing with this syndrome, I tell them in therapy, I'm going to teach you how to say no. And they're like, I don't know about that. And I do. I teach women how to say no to other people so that they can say yes to themselves. So it's okay to do it. You have to.
How do we get past, and ladies, you can chime in too with this because you may have a solution, because we've all done some work. Okay. We've all done some therapy. We've all done some coaching. One of the reasons why I know that we have the Superwoman Syndrome is because we don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to disappoint our job. We don't want to disappoint our kids. We don't want to disappoint anybody. So how do we get over that feeling of just disappointing somebody?
I think sometimes we assume that that's going to be the outcome, and that's not always accurate. Yeah, we assume that people will feel disappointed or let down by us. And so we move from that assumption when most likely that's not the case. And the other thing I tell women too is the people who care about you the most aren't going to feel bad because you said no. They're going to honor your no. So it weeds out the people who don't really care about you or your needs, because when you say no to them, they're going to push back on it, right? But the people who love you, who care about you, who honor you are going to say, you know what? I respect it, right? Because they care about you.
Wow, that was so good. We assume, and
Yeah.
I always tell my clients to read the four agreements, the book, the four agreements, and it says don't assume anything. Don't take it personal. Don't take things personally. Honor your word. And I always tell my client, but it doesn't come in for us. Netta, were you going to say something?
I was going to say the old topic that we've talked about before. There's my business, there's their business, and there's God's business. And the only business you can control is your own. So anything outside of that, let it go. It's not yours to carry. We are known for carrying stuff that don't belong to us. So let that go. Control what you can. It's okay to take care of yourself. And I'm also known for saying self-care is healthcare.
That is so good.
And I've had to learn that, because I'm loyal. That's one of my that's another one of my issues. I got so many. But I've learned to stop being loyal to the wrong people.
Oh,
right. That was one thing. I also learned to accept the boundaries that other people set for me. Like, for instance, my team, right, has set boundaries for me, right? Like, and they're like, listen, here's what you're not going to do, right? You on your day off, you're not going to be on the computer. You're not going to respond. We're not going to call you. And you're going to stop responding to every email from everybody. That's what you have a team for. So you just send the emails to us.
wow.
Right. And I started to push back. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to push back. I'm going to do exactly what they said. So now when an email comes in from an employee, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to forward it on to the payroll person. I'm going to just forward it on to my employee relations person, right? Because for me, because what, the way I am wired is, I feel like I have to respond and acknowledge the email and say, well, I received your email. And they say, no, you don't even have to do that. You don't even have to tell them you received the email and you're going to forward it to us. Just forward it to us.
Wow.
Right. And I had to really accept that boundary, right? Because for me, it was hard, because that's who I am. Like, I don't like getting emails and not responding and then not acknowledging. Right. But I had to accept that boundary, because otherwise all day long, I'm just being badgered, right? With emails.
Wow. Dr. Latoya, how do we know when Superwoman Syndrome has gone into depression?
Very good question. Because they look very similar. And so I would say one of the major things to look for is when you get to a place where you have withdrawn. So that's isolating, right? Because the Superwoman is busy, right? She's saying yes to all the things. She's doing all the things. So when you get to, I think it was Miss Netta who said her body told her. So your body starts to shut down, right? So when you start to feel extreme fatigue, you're isolating, you're not getting out of bed, you're having you go to work and it's all you can do to go to work and come home and you are done. You're not answering phone calls, returning calls. You are beginning to withdraw and check out and isolate, and that's a sign that something else is operating.
Yeah, because Theo went through that functioning depression. Theo, talk about that for like a couple seconds.
Yeah, I went through a period of where I would literally get up every day. I would go to work. I would get dressed. I would sit there. I would do my job, but I couldn't wait to get home to put on my pajamas
and go back to bed.
And go back to bed. And it was like a routine. And like, but when I was around people, I was like the life of the party. I was good. And at work, even if I got teary eye, I would say it was my allergies or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, I would get up in the morning just thinking about when I would be able to get back home.
That's it. That's it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that's the thing about depression in Black women. You know, oftentimes, and people in general, it's not just Black women, but when you're trying to hide it, you will put on a mask, right? You don't want to we don't want to burden other people with our problems. We don't want to make other people feel bad or sad or whatever that is. And so we walk around pretending. And my God, how exhausting is that? How it is so exhausting. It is physically and emotionally exhausting. You know, one of the first clues for me that I'm probably dealing with a woman who is suffering from the Superwoman Syndrome is I am so tired. Dr. Gaines, I'm so tired. And it's not just a physical fatigue, it's an emotional fatigue. It's a mental fatigue. And part of it has to do with wearing that mask, wearing that armor, right? You can't show your emotions. You can't share what you're going through with anybody. There's shame. There's, you feel alone, you feel isolated because you don't think anybody will understand. And so you carry it very quietly. So yeah, just looking out for those things. When you see a friend or a family member who is starting to withdraw, who they seem like they're not okay, or something is off, right? We always look back in hindsight and say, I was wondering, I thought, and instead of waiting, do it. Just say, hey, I noticed, you haven't really been on social media that much. Is everything okay? Hey, I noticed that sometimes when I'm calling, you're not answering. Is everything okay? I love you. I'm worried about you. I love you and I'm thinking about you. Give me a call and let me know what I can do. I've even told a friend, if you don't call me, I'm coming to your house, right? Because sometimes that's what we have to do.
That's it. I tell my friends all the time. We got a group chat with my 4 best friends. I call them my core. If somebody don't answer soon enough, we start like, excuse me, IA, missing in action. Do we need to send up all police bulletin report? Somebody need to drive to your house. We like, okay, we all about to get in the car. So that is so important for us to have a core. People around us genuinely care for. I have 4, but if it's just one, it's 2. Somebody that can hear your silence. A lot of us have a lot of yes men around, a lot of people around. We need people that hear our silence. Dina said, I told my oldest brother no, I wasn't working on a project for him. And he called my other siblings and mother and told them he asked me for help. And I had the nerve to tell him no, as if I couldn't say no to him. He was so upset that he started saying, and she calls herself a church lady. See, Dr. Latoya, how people guilt us into the Superwoman Syndrome, right? So,
yes.
Dr. Latoya, please tell everybody about your assessment. 1, where can they take the depression assessment that you have?
So it's a checklist. I got a checklist. If you go on Instagram, and go into my bio and click the link, it's a depression checklist, and it actually shares 6 symptoms of depression that are often misdiagnosed. Because one of the things that happens quite frequently with Black women, when they finally do present for help, they look good on the outside. They look strong. They come off as though they're okay. And so they are often misdiagnosed. So I created a checklist that gives more detail into what are some of those signs and symptoms that are often overlooked in depression, so that you'll know what what you're looking for, what you might be looking for in a friend or family member, and when it might be time to make a phone call for some help.
Ladies, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but a thought just came to me. There was a friend who's another friend of his son passed away. This friend flew to another state to be by this man's side who had lost his son. And in that same week, they're both ministers. The minister spoke at a Bible class and he called it the ministry of presence. What it does when you're in a deep, dark situation to have someone just come and sit with you. It's not about the conversation. It's not about the details of what's going on. Just being present speaks volumes.
Yeah, I agree.
That is so good. Ladies, did you want to chime in? So we're at 8:50, so we're going to go around the room and give our final thoughts, and then we're going to let Dr. Latoya take us out on however she wants to end the show for us. So let's go around the room and give our final thoughts on the Superwoman Syndrome. I just have to say that this conversation has been rich. And if you just tuned in, you're tuned into the Woman to Woman show. I thank all of the viewers. Please share. Sharing is caring. Black women are carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, right? There are so many women around us who are sitting right next to us who are going through the Superwoman Syndrome, and we're not talking to each other. We're not giving each other an outlet or the help that we need. So it's so much better to offer to say, go to Dr. Latoya's Instagram page and look at her depression checklist. And you don't have to tell anybody. And if you reach out to Dr. Latoya, everything is confidential. But if you see a friend, if you see something, say something. Girl, I know you're tired. And it doesn't have to be all in depth because people get funny when you start asking too many questions. Hey, I know you're tired. I did this checklist, and you can make it. I did this checklist. Was watching some show, Dr. Latoya on Instagram. She got a lot of good stuff on her page too. And I just happened to click on her bio and it was a link for a checklist about depression. You should go do it. It just showed me that I wasn't depressed, to get them to go and actually look at it because nobody wants to see the problem. So we'll go around the room and give our final thoughts. Shayla, you want to start?
Yes, thank you. I was just writing down before so I wouldn't forget. And one of the things that I thought of, and when I spoke about, when I was at church and all the different ministries I was involved in, there was a period of time that I felt like if I wasn't there, things would fall apart. So I would just want to say to, anyone that's listening that feels that way, that things will fall apart if you're not there. Not so. And if it does, it's okay. But you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be there for everything. You don't have to overextend yourself and feel like, don't give yourself, I guess in a way, don't give yourself so much importance that things will fall apart if you're not there. Take the time to do what you need to do for yourself, because as we said before, if you're not right, you can't help anybody. So.
Oh my goodness. I love that, Shayla. We put ourselves on this pedestal. If I ain't there, the whole world gonna fall apart. And I promise you, I was just saying this to a friend of mine today who just got a new job. And he was so upset at his old job. And he said, they didn't replace me with somebody else already. If we dropped dead tomorrow, went and got a new job, don't you know these people and family and friends and everybody would definitely move on with their lives. And Charles Field said this goes for men as well. We're going to have Dr. Latoya at the end just put a bow on this thing for men and women. So Theo, you want to come in with your final thought?
Yeah, I would just say just a continuation of just talking about, like the whole functional depression thing, right? And I think people need to recognize that sometimes it's just whatever you're going through can send you into that space. But the other thing I wanted to say is, even when you have a core and you have friends that love you, there's always going to be the one that thinks that, you're so amazing that you're good. And no matter what you feel, I think stay away from saying things like one of my friends has said when I have expressed like, oh my God, I just need you guys to pray for me. I can't do whatever. She's like, oh girl, you're amazing. You're going to be fine. Right? Don't discount what somebody else tells you they're going through. Right? And so that would be my final thought, is like not to discount when somebody tells you what they're going through. And I'm not saying that she was doing it in a spiteful or mean way. Like she was used to the Theo that she knew and saw. She was used to the Theo that bounces back from things quickly, right? And so her initial reaction was like, girl, you're going to be okay. But even when you feel that way about somebody, just keep it to yourself. Don't discount how somebody else may be telling you they're feeling.
Woo! Woo! Y'all on fire tonight. Don't discount how somebody's telling you they're feeling, and don't think the world is going to fall apart because you're not there. Come on in, Regina.
Okay, my final thoughts for this evening is you can say no and you don't need to give any explanation. It's just a firm no. No need to explain. Taking care of yourself, and you think about yourself, and just a no, and accept the help. One thing that happened to me when I was going through that whole thing with my father, I had a core of sisters. The church I belonged to, we had a group, and I was in the group, and my leader knew I was functioning in depression, and she saw me spiraling out, and she would not let me fall. And I did accept her. I accept her help, regrettably, but she would not. She knew if she let go of my hand, something could have happened. So accept the help, and no with no. You don't have to give an explanation.
I love that right there. Accept the help and no. And period spells no. Netta.
Right.
I would just like to say, we're constantly learning about other things. It's okay to learn a new way to do things in your life. It doesn't have to stay the way it's always been. Well, mama did it, grandmama did it, and I've been doing it and they did okay. Well, no, maybe they weren't okay. It's okay to stop and learn a new way of being. I would much rather be healthier than just continue on the same path that was destructive, because we have our young ladies watching us. I have a daughter who's watching me. I would much rather leave a healthier version of myself than what I was used to doing all the time.
Yeah.
Wow. It's okay to do things a new way, people. Our grandmothers were super women. Our mamas were super. They didn't know no better. They were taught to carry this. And we talking about from slavery days, right? This mentality came from our great grandmama, grandmother being slaves, and bringing that down to our mothers, that we supposed to do this. Unless, yeah, there are some things we are supposed to serve our children and different things in our lives, but they made us take it to the extreme. And again, that's so good that we got to come out of that box. I would say, get you a therapist. I'm so serious. I'm so 100% serious on this. The world will have you thinking that crazy people get therapists. No, sane people get therapists. Sane people who want to keep their sanity get a therapist. If you don't like the word therapist, get you a life coach. Get you somebody outside of your circle who is not going to say to you like Theo said, girl, you okay? Or somebody that's going to join your pity party, or somebody who's going to coddle you. Get you some professional help. It is okay. And we need to know that. That's what my final thought will be. Go get you some professional help, and everybody going to be okay. Dr. Latoya, your final thoughts of what you want people to know, and make sure you let everybody know where they can follow, friend, like you, and contact you.
Man, you all summed this up really well. I think it's really important for us to stop labeling people who seek counseling as crazy, because that's not accurate. That's not true. There's a lot of stigma that goes with getting help. However, it's needed and necessary. And I think in women, depression often shows up in a certain way, and we've covered that very well this evening. The withdrawal, the people pleasing, suppressing her own needs, and for men, often it shows up as anger, irritability, low frustration tolerance. They have difficulty expressing their emotions when they're angry. And so think about how this also gets translated down to our children, right? We transmit this down to our children. So we have to be mindful of how we are talking about our mental health and keeping an eye on them. You can find me on Instagram at Dr. Latoya Gaines Speaks. I am also on Facebook as Dr. Gaines Speaks and at Family Matters Counseling as well. I'm going to be doing a webinar at the end of March. So if you sign up for the checklist, you will be added to the mailing list and get information first about the upcoming webinar. So thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
And I would just like to say to everybody listening, including us ladies, let's just all go take the go do the checklist. Let's just all go. It ain't gonna hurt us. It's like, you know, sometimes people's children get diagnosed and they think that your child has ADD or autism, and they get up in arms. I don't want nobody to give me a title. And then you might just find out that your child just needs a little extra help. It's not gonna hurt you. They just got some free tutoring. So let's all just go over to Dr. Latoya's Instagram page, click on the link, and let's just go look at the signs of depression to make sure that we haven't slipped into it. Because sometimes Dr. Latoya is our outside looking in, because we're on the inside all the time. We can't see ourselves a lot of times, and we're just sticking and moving, and things are happening to us. So thank you for tuning into the Woman to Woman show. We thank you. We don't take it lightly. It's a privilege to be in your life. Follow us on Instagram, W2W Show. Please subscribe to the New You Nation Network YouTube channel. And don't forget to share. Sharing is caring. Again, we believe that truth plus transparency equals healing. Remember, you are only as sick as your secrets. It's healing time. See you all next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. Thank you so much, Dr. Latoya. We don't take it like, thank you for your time. Thank you for your talent. And thank you for your gift.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Beauty Flies.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
I need to walk with me on this journey. Yes, hold me accountable, 'cause sometimes I need to know the truth. Sister, I love you. We're one in the same, 'cause we're sharing the pain of the world as we know it to be. Sister, I need you to walk with me on this journey. Yes, hold me accountable, 'cause sometimes I need to know the truth. Sister,